Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX and I'm Megha Sharma, and this is a very special telecast right ahead of the Delhi elections that take place tomorrow. Now in this telecast, we speak about the people's issue, whether it is about the poor pollution levels in the state, or when we talk about the water scarcity issues that the citizens of Delhi have to face, whether we talk about the poor administration when it comes to schools and hospitals and other areas where people at this point of time are facing problems, or then we talk about the traffic congestion that ails Delhi. What are the citizens' issues? What is it that they want the government of Delhi and the members of parliament that they elect to do in their favor, bring about the problems and issues that they face being the representatives in the parliament, and find some practical solutions to these problems. This is the Citizens' Charter, and let's start our conversation with some of the most eminent guests joining me on the telecast. They are citizens of Delhi and represent the voice of Delhi. Starting my telecast with Dr. Bagai. Thank you so much for joining me on the telecast, Dr. Bagai. And talking about the issues that the citizens of Delhi face, what are your top 5 issues that you want to raise and want your member of parliament to take up in the parliament and then bring about practical solutions to it?
Good evening everyone. So I'll limit it to 6, although the list is very long. But the O's of the AAP government just continue on and on. I think they came in as projecting, I would say, more as a pretense, as being gatekeepers of morality, of simplicity, of honesty, of ethics. I think that was a smokescreen. Poor administration, poor governance, a lot of distrust amongst the common citizens with regards to what is happening. And the basic attitude of the government right from the very beginning, from day one, has been confrontational. And that doesn't argue well as far as administration is concerned. Administration is always transparency and consensus. I think they were at loggerheads with almost everyone. The second important point is the water. Water supply being short, water being unclean, and not being available in not only in summer, but in most months, in most parts of the city. Point number 3 is the law and order. I think a lot needs to be done. A lot of excuses have been given for it, but that doesn't fly any longer. Point number 4 is the traffic. The traffic is not being digitally monitored. I think most international cities have very good tracking systems put in place, and that's not in place here in Delhi. Acute shortage of buses. Public transport is abysmal. Point number 5 is the mohalla clinics have been a complete failure. There's no question about it. Medication not being available, false tests reports floating around. That's criminal. I mean, that's not acceptable at all. And no doctors, no medications. This is not the way healthcare is run. And also, added on number of beds is not being seen. And last, most importantly, is pollution. It's always highlighted only in the winter months when it reaches crisis mode and people can't breathe. But pollution, as far as AQI is concerned, is there 12 months a year. And there is no long-term, short-term plan to combat it. The causes of it are varied. But overall, I would say the government in AAP, in terms of administration, has been a disappointment. They came as a game changer, but I think they spoiled the game in Delhi totally. Over to you.
Okay, then, when you're going to vote tomorrow, step out of your home, go to the polling booth, on what basis, if these are the bases on which you're going to cast your vote, and you've seen the BJP perform in 2014 when it won the elections and members of the parliament were picked from Delhi. 2019, there were once again a landslide victory for the BJP and 7 members of the parliament that had been picked from here. How do you see the performance of these members of parliament? And are you voting on state issues? Are you voting on the issues that you've just pointed out? Or are there national issues on agenda on the basis of which you cast your vote?
Is that for me?
Yes.
I think we cannot dissociate Delhi from India. I think Delhi is not only the national capital, but it's the face of India. It's the political, geographic landmark of India. And I think I would vote for governance. I would vote for results. I would vote very clearly for a government which is progressive. I will vote for a government which is non-confrontational. and I will not vote for government which lives on pretexts. I will vote for BJP.
Okay, all right. So there you said it, straightforward and without any qualms. Joining me also on the telecast is Dilip Cherian. He's the political commentator, founder, Perfect Relations. Dilip, thank you for joining me on the telecast. And of course, the same question to you, what I asked Padma Shri Dr. Sanjeev Bagai as well. What are the 5 big issues that you find problematic in Delhi?
I think that given that this is a national election, and given that we are voting for our members in parliament, my vote goes for members of parliament who will make sure that there is a resurgence of growth, along with what Dr. Bagai talked about, the concomitant problems of growth, i.e. water supply, particulate matter in the air, etc. But let me break it up with what my asks are of my member of parliament. I want to make her or him responsible to make employment higher in this city. I can see that there is a growth in the number of people, anecdotally, who are out of jobs in whichever sector you're talking. So that is something that I want them to focus on and make sure that as members of parliament, elected from Delhi, but from whichever party, they ensure that employment is triggered higher, ease of doing business. The capital, as Dr. Bagai mentioned, is in a sense, the display point for the country. Do we see ease of being able to do your business, or do we see that there is no change in the harassment that happens to anybody attempting to set up anything entrepreneurial in this city? The numbers of permissions and the numbers of inspectors and the numbers of those who think that they have the right to extract from you even before you become productive are far too high. That is my second thing. The third thing I would say is we need to make sure that just as we encourage Indians to set up business, India and Delhi especially, as a high-cost capital, must have global companies finding it attractive to make India and Delhi their home. That only will ensure that the kind of citizens of India in Delhi, who live in Delhi, get the kinds of opportunities that they are looking for. And the reverse also matters, that there should be equal opportunity for them to find easy access to go abroad if they want to chase their callings and their hopes and desires elsewhere. Okay. And the last thing I will end up with is the issue of pollution. I would like to have the members of Parliament of Delhi ensure that in the summer months, they start taking action with the cooperation of the surrounding states to ensure that we don't have a winter problem. Winter and monsoons are not the time to solve it. The time to solve it are the hot months of summer. We need to see them out there in the field, convincing farmers, working with other state governments and across party lines to make sure that the citizens of Delhi who have elected them have safer, saner lives. I'll stop here.
Dilip, then, a question that comes to mind when you talk about national politics and the kind of electoral narrative that has been set up, whether it is the BJP or the Aam Aadmi Party or the Congress. I'm sorry to say, amongst all these 5-6 points that you have enumerated to me, there's hardly one that has been put as a manifesto, whether it is the BJP, Aam Aadmi Party, Congress. I have not seen in the manifesto that a political party is going to work for improving the air quality levels in the state if it were to come to power.
That's a very interesting point, which just goes to show how divorced politicians and the politics they pursue are from the needs of the person on the ground. They have to feel that pain, and they have to make sure that the process of making manifestos is not confined to electoral season, but that there is crowdsourcing of the pains, the opportunities, the threats that ordinary citizens who are not sitting in ivory towers feel on a daily basis over the next 5 years. Then they should create a manifesto, not just in the last 10 days after elections are announced.
But my wonderment and question and appallment is that even if you're talking about electoral politics and you're making the manifestos, the important issues, the water scarcity, to talk about the pollution levels that become unbearable during the October-November months, it finds no mention. It's almost as if the public has forgotten about it. All you're going to right now discuss about is freebies, free electricity and free water and this and that to get maximum number of people to vote for you. That's the mileage that they at this point of time are wanting to get.
That is our problem as citizens. When we go to vote, we need to keep that in mind and ensure that our leaders hear the sound from our votes to make sure that the manifestos include what common citizens really want and need.
Okay, all right. Ambassador Basudhi Mukherjee, she's also joining me on the telecast. Thank you so much, ma'am, for talking to us. And of course, the same question. What are your 5 issues that you have taken up and based on which you are going to cast your vote?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that in a federal structure, the capital city normally does not have multiplicity of administrative structures. So if you look at Washington, you look at Canberra, etc., I regret very much that actually I think it was, Dilip would know better, but I think it was under a Congress Sarkar that we had Sheila Dikshit, etc. We should have worked out a system by which there is a clear demarcation of powers, and we know what the state government is supposed to do and what the center is supposed to do. And we also have to be conscious that if we are considering ourselves to be an emerging important power, then we should not have so much of friction in the capital city of Delhi. So I would very much hope that we would be able to come to terms with that, because certainly the citizens of Delhi, and I am the president of the RWA of my colony, the Resident Welfare Association, and we find this a daily conflict. Who to go to? Should we go to the councillor? Should we go to the MCD? One person blames the other, but the net result is that, for instance, I'll give you a simple example, Megha. Suppose you know that there is a tree that is going to fall on your main transformer, and you're going to be without electricity the whole night, 100 houses. And you want to go and you want to get the branches pruned. You cannot do it because there are 15 different clearances to be taken. So my first point would be, as Dilip said, let's have clarity, A, on who's doing what. Secondly, let's try and make these procedures less bureaucratic. I'm from the Foreign Service. I have never ever seen such bureaucracy in the Foreign Service, honestly. So I think we did pretty well for ourselves in MEA. We didn't have to go through all this. Pollution is a huge problem. When I got double pneumonia 2 years ago, I got very bad double bronchitis last year. I don't have any lung problem. My doctors and Max told me it was entirely pollution related, although I wear a mask in my morning walk. But I can no longer walk in December, January because my doctors say now it's too dangerous to walk. I would like pollution for myself, Megha, to be #1 on the list. That whoever we vote for makes a serious effort to tackle the pollution before it actually starts happening, which means that we shouldn't think about it, as Dr. Bagai said and Dilip, when we are in the middle of it. We should start planning it out at least 2 months in advance. I would also like to say, since I take a morning walk in the park in my colony, which is Sarvodaya Enclave, that I would like more law and order and policing for women. There have been a lot of chain snatching, mobile phone snatching. When I go to the park, I don't wear my watch. I leave my mobile phone behind, though I'm conscious that's a foolish thing to do. But there has been a certain deterioration, unfortunately, of law and order, even in, I don't know if mine is a posh area, I live in South Delhi, but for women, we don't feel that secure anymore. I do believe that there is another big problem which leads to road rage and rage in my colony, which is the dumping of cars, old cars, in places in the colony which they think I'll just come and dump my car, and then they just forget about it for 2-3 months. It's lying there, it's causing road rage, etc. So people have to do something about that. And finally, I would say that we really need to do something about asking our MPs to use they get a certain budget allocation. They should plan out what are they going to spend it on, because they're supposed to spend it on the welfare of the area which is under their jurisdiction. For instance, mine comes under New Delhi. So we've got Somnath Bharati, who is my MLA actually, and we've got Sushma ji's daughter, who I know very well, Bansuri. Whoever wins should be prepared to use their budget as MP for the welfare of their area. They should be in monthly consultations, perhaps through a WhatsApp group, to find out what their constituents want. That's a system which works very well. I've seen it in the West, in France, in UK, etc. There should be some communication with constituents so that they hear the voice of the people and they respond to the voice of the people. Sorry for being a bit long, Megha, but I thought these were important points also for your audience. Thank you.
Ambassador Mukherjee, today when you switch on your television or when you are taking a look and reading your newspapers or going to the internet and reading the news and the kind of narrative that has been built by political parties, today the big issue is not about pollution or scarcity of water or the administration problems that Delhi is facing. It is about Arvind Kejriwal going to jail. It is about Swati Maliwal assault case and so on and so forth. So and have you ever heard, and like I asked Dilip Cherian as well, have you ever heard of a politician, whether it is Baswati Mukherjee or Somnath Bharti or Manoj Tiwari or Kanhaiya Kumar or any of these candidates who at this point of time are fighting the election and vying for that seat to be won and becoming member of parliament, who has spoken about the issue of pollution? Who has spoken about the desire to change things? Who has spoken about cutting red tapeism and bureaucracy in Delhi?
Well, you have to be conscious, Megha, that it's a national election. A lot of the issues which I have outlined are discussed when we have the election for the Delhi State Assembly and for the MCD election. So it is normal that in a national election, you have national issues as well as local issues. If you're talking about the Swati Maliwal case, perhaps the reason for that, at least as a woman I can tell you, is because she was the chair of the Commission on Status of Women set up by the Delhi state government. And therefore, any woman, I can tell you because I'm a strong feminist, would feel disturbed by the allegations that she has brought and perhaps by some of the reactions of her own party. So that is bound to influence the voter. You cannot help it, because the voter, it's not like the jury system you have in the United States, where if the juror is prejudiced, he has to recuse himself. The voter is an emotional person who gets swayed by what he or she reads in the newspaper and what he or she hears or sees on social media. That is why it is very important not to have too much of objectionable or hate stuff floating around, because it can adversely influence the voter one way or the other. I would say, for instance, yes, I have been influenced by the Swati narrative. I've met her, I know her well, and it has influenced me. I cannot deny that to you, being a woman. But when I would go to vote, I would also keep the other points that I've just outlined in my mind when I vote. But I can't lie to you and say that I have not been influenced by what I heard her say. I have been, because I'm a woman.
Okay, interesting. All right. Uday Mahurkar also joins me on the telecast. Thank you, Mr. Mahurkar. And of course, the first question, what are the important issues that you feel ail Delhi and based on which you are going to cast your vote tomorrow?
Let me be very clear. I'm based in Delhi for the last 10 years, but my voting rights are in Gujarat because I came from Gujarat, But then I have been a journalist. I was with India Today for at least 5 years in Delhi and 28 years in Gujarat. I was Central Information Commissioner, RTI Commissioner after 2020. So I have a very clear view as to what issues are staring at us at Delhi when it goes to polls tomorrow. One is the water crisis and the handling of the Delhi Jal Board. Delhi Board has turned into a mess. Since I was Commissioner RTI, and I was handling Delhi, I've seen all these departments are under me. Delhi Jal Board is in a horrible shape. Water supply is often based on party lines, where the workers are, the party's workers are strong, they get more water. Secondly, Delhi Jal Board was revenue surplus about 8 years ago, 10 years ago. Today it is, I think, down by more than 60,000 crores. So Jal Board is a big mess, and I think water is a big crisis in Delhi. Apart from short supply of water, the quality of water is also a big issue. Then comes air pollution. I agree with all my co-panelists. The air pollution is a major issue in this city, and nobody talks about it even in national election, because air pollution becomes an issue only when winter comes. So I think it has to be addressed. There is a problem of solid waste management also, the kind of hills you find around Delhi. I think solid waste management is also a big problem. I think we have to look at it. Third is something about which nobody is talking about is the pollution in Yamuna River, one of the most sacred rivers in the country, and associated with Lord Krishna. It is in very bad shape. So I think something has to be done to Yamuna. The efforts are being made to clean up Ganga. I think the efforts to Yamuna to clean up Yamuna have totally failed. Fourth is traffic. I think something has to be done about traffic, because people take within the city of 3 hours to reach. 3 hours means you can go to a far off city, 3 hours. There is one lady who told me that she takes 3 hours to reach her destination within Delhi, NCR. So I think that has to be addressed.
Okay.
There could be there could be solutions like allowing less number of vehicles by bringing some law. There could be this on migration, some stop on migration. Fourth is hospitals. Hospitals are also in very bad shape in Delhi. There is no place where you find yourself comfortable as a patient, and more so with people from lower classes. So I think Delhi has to really put its act together, and the people's representatives as well as those who are in Vidhan Sabha, they have to really address these issues. Otherwise, Delhi is one of the world's most polluted city today.
Yeah.
And unless it is addressed, these issues are addressed, Delhi is going to be in big trouble in the time to come.
Okay. As Ambassador Mukherjee was saying that, the issues on the basis of which the political parties filed the election and raised their agendas and filed their manifestos is based on whether they are assembly elections or whether they are national elections. But talking about air pollution particularly, there has been, and do you think this is just a state issue? This is just an issue that needs to be raised when assembly elections are being held. And second of all, when political parties use the same methods and means to reach out to the people to vie for their votes, because there is freebie politics, soft politics, you're giving free power and free water and so on and so forth, free bus rides. It's a tool that is used to attract the voters to vote for you, whether it is assembly, municipal elections, or we talk about the national elections. When the method of garnering votes from the people is the same, why shouldn't these agendas also be part of the manifesto, whether it is national or assembly? And like we have spoken before as well, are we fighting a presidential style election in the country, that it is just about the Prime Minister or the President that is being picked, but it is also about the Member of Parliament who represents your constituency, who represents your region in the parliament, who's going to raise these issues in the parliament and then hopefully find solutions to it once the government of India starts to act on it, because as per the questions asked, there are going to be responses given, and if you nudge them and you pressurize them enough, there is a possibility and a likelihood that yes, there will be a solution found. Sir, the question is for you.
For me?
Yes.
No, you see, where there is a will, there is a way. I think no issue, there is no such issue which cannot be solved. There has to be a single-minded commitment to welfare of the people. And as Commissioner, I found that it was severely lacking, you know. Even education, there is a big list actually. Even education, EWS quota was not being implemented properly. Secondly, in hospitals, most of the major hospitals of this city had taken land at concessional rates from the government which was in power, whosoever government was. And on the condition that 1/4 of their patients would be from EWS category, economically weaker section category. But today, they have simply forgotten about it. And according to one RTA application which came to me, treatment worth 1,500 crores has not been given to the poor people by leading private hospitals of Delhi, which they had promised while taking land at concessional rates from the Delhi government. So I think there are major issues, and you see, pollution in Delhi cannot be a local issue alone. I agree that most of these issues are basically debated during Vidhan Sabha elections. But then pollution of Delhi is the capital of this country. India has a different place today altogether at the global level. And we are the most polluted city in the most polluted capital in the world. I think this has to be addressed.
Okay.
By even people who are fighting a national election.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All the important points made by all my panelists over here. Thank you all for joining me on the telecast. And on the eve of the election in Delhi, we raise all these important points. Unfortunately, what is lacking over here is our candidates, who unfortunately have not raised them. Now, on the basis of what are the people of Delhi going to cast their vote? And if they vote for the people that then get elected, are they, as their representatives, going to act on all these issues and all these demands of the people and work their way up in the parliament to allow for some substantial change to happen, which will then favor Delhi, which will improve Delhi, which will allow for Delhiites to live a better, cleaner air that they will be able to breathe, a better quality of life that they will be able to live.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.